Yes.
It's recording now.
Oh, yes. White male.
Hi, I'm John. This is Jim.
No, I'm John.
No, I
Hi, I'm Arlo, Macmillan, and I co-directed Fired Juice. I forgot the name, but
Fried Juice.
Fried Juice.
And I'm Charlie Higgison, and I am the second part of the directing duo that
Yes.
brought our story to life.
Well, I remember this.
Good job.
Yes. So you were shooting It Only Takes One.
My short film I made about a year and a bit ago now.
Yeah, and this was at like the end of 2018, and Hayley was contacting people to get extras and stuff for your film, and she asked me, and I was like, yeah, okay, and then we met on the filming.
We met as I was shooting it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got him to come back another day to do some camera work as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I realised you were good at the camera as well as acting.
Yes.
Ah. But no, then from then I think we just started talking and making a few little things together.
Yeah.
Did we do some?
Well, you helped on tripods as well.
Helped on your web series, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was during lockdown that we brainstormed it, right?
Yeah, for the most part it was, but like our first meeting that we had was like a week or two before lockdown.
Yeah.
And then we got put into lockdown, and then we wrote the script and brainstormed, but getting ahead of myself, brainstormed and then wrote the script.
So I think the initial spark of it was Arlo sent me a link to a competition called Screen Test by NZ on Screen, and he said, "Do you want to make something for this?"
Yeah.
Thought it was a great idea, looking to do another short film. So we started coming up with ideas for it, and personally, the concept that I think for me, Fire Juice came from was an idea of a group of people pulling a prank to get even with someone who had wronged them. That was kind of like my concept that I wanted it to come from, and evolved quite a lot since then.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What about you? What was your spark of the story idea?
Well, just to back it up a bit. So back last year in like about October, when you were doing a tripods thing for me, you said, "Oh, would you like," as like a brief conversation when we were in the car, you said, "Do you want to make a short film for the Real Earth Film Festival?" But I was like, "Oh, I would, but not going to have the time because the musical was going to be on then, but it wasn't on because lockdown." But so then I saw this competition, and I thought, oh, I could make something with Charlie for this.
Seems like a simple question, doesn't it?
It's not though.
But you think about it, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
You know. Well, why do I personally like it? It's just something I'm drawn to. You know, it's like any other passion. It's something when you're doing it and you're either shooting a film or you're editing it, you're talking to people about it, or you're showing someone some work you've done. You have just a feeling of like excitement and energy, and like you always want to do more of it when you're doing it. And that's how I define a passion, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it was never like a conscious decision to start doing it, right? Or there was never like a reason I did it. It's just you make a film, you like it, you do more, it just snowballs.
Yeah. Well, for me, I like telling stories. I think that's definitely part of it. I like telling a story, and then particularly when it comes to editing, and I've edited like a really like nice looking shot.
Crispy.
Yeah, I go, oh my gosh, that's so good. I really love it, and that's like part of what drives me as well as what you said.
And definitely, obviously, a huge part of it is watching films by other people. Whether that's by Arlo or by Peter Jackson.
And that like inspires you.
Exactly. I look around in a cinema and I'm watching a movie and I see people like reacting emotionally to something. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I want to do that.
I want to like conduct the orchestra of people watching a film. You know, I want them to like feel emotions because of something that I've made.
Yeah.
And the stories that I care about. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first ever thing?
The first ever thing was when I was probably about 5 or 7 or 8, And
5 or 7 or 8.
Between those. And my older sister had a camera and she was making films with her friends, and I was an extra in the background jumping on a trampoline in my boxes, I think.
Yeah.
That was my first ever experience with it, and then I made stop motions with my older brother and more films with my older sister, just as like the younger sibling who's been used by them to get drinks or whatever. And then I started making stop motion animations with Lego for myself. Started putting those on YouTube, and then just with an iPad, and then that turned into getting a camera, and then started playing with live action from there. But I think early on it was just like watching Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, 2 huge fantasy worlds that you're going to get immersed in, and thinking, I want to be a part of that. So using my Lego figures I had when I was 10 and 11 years old to create stories that surrounded that, like spin-off stories and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So that kind of inspired you.
Definitely.
Lord of the
Definitely.
Rings and Harry Potter.
And from there to tell my own stories rather than ones centered in those universes. But tell me about you, Ollie.
Well, I was like, your inspiration was Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Mine was Doctor Who. I had been watching Doctor Who for like an insanely long time. I'd been watching it since I was about 3 or something. Maybe that's not good parenting, but I think it was. And so like the stories in that just kind of inspired me to create my own. And like I didn't like start off with filmmaking. Like I have memories of me like creating books and drawings and stuff and stories like that. And I think part of it might have been because, well, up until I was about 7, I was an only child. Somehow like not be bored and create my own things and create my own scenarios with action figures and drawings and stuff. And I think that contributed to it. But then when I was 7, I got my stepsister, because stuff happened in the family. But yeah, so that's kind of where it grew from. And then I don't actually know for sure what my first film was, but I think it was like a not very good stop motion about Stig from Top Gear.
So we got a grant for the short film from Palmerston North Youth Council, and I'd known about it for quite a while, known some people who had previously gotten grants, and so I forwarded to Arlo, and we sent an application to them, and we got granted some funds for it. We got granted enough money to buy food for the actors and the crew, and to rent lighting, and to make the production value a little bit higher, which was really nice. And we're really grateful to them for that. It was quite interesting doing the application because we had to think ahead for the film. Rather than just the script we've been writing, we had to think about who's going to see the film when it's done, what's the impact going to be, like what's the outcome going to be, as well as how we're actually making it. So that was quite interesting. I think you pulled me back a bit. Like I went on the application, I went on about putting Palmy on the national map and making us great again. Not quite those words, but
no.
And then Arlo was like, okay, come. We're Kiwis. We're not that loud.
We're from Palmerston North. We're not that big, even though there are like a huge amount of like creative people
there
from
are a ton here.
The Manawatu area.
There are a ton, but when it's not, you don't want to. It's never a good sign to, or like never a good image to have your brand be like boosting yourself as like we're gonna make it on a national level and put ourselves on the map. It just doesn't come across well, and you help me see that. But there are a ton of creatives in the Palmy area for sure. There are a ton. There are like so many small.
I think the main one, but I hope it's for you as well.
Oh, gosh.
Is always plan ahead. Like always plan before you shoot, because then it gets messy.
The thing I've noticed is, even from the very like 2 years ago when I started doing this like kind of seriously, I guess, something I've noticed ever since I started thinking I need to plan ahead better is that I never plan ahead well enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Had never had a shoot, and I'm not even joking, in my entire time doing this where I thought I planned ahead as well as I needed to. And
I can agree.
there's always something that just slips through. So I cannot emphasize that enough. But apart from that, there are so many micro rules or micro philosophies that I tend to live by.
Don't break the. I forgot what it's called.
Don't touch the lights.
The 180 rule.
Don't break the 180 rule. That's a good one. There's a lot of technical ones or like that, but I think general ones are one I heard from a YouTuber who I recently found is think about before you go on a set or before you shoot something. Think about who you want to be on that set and what person you can be, which will help everyone else around you and make them be their best. And if you look back on a day and you realize you weren't that person, like stop and think about what you're doing and readjust it. Because you need to be someone on set who inspires and uplifts people and makes them be their best. Otherwise,
and is good at like explaining to the actors what's going on as well as the crew and stuff.
Yeah.
And
if you look back after a day of shooting and think I wasn't my best today, like that's the thing you need to work on the most.
Yeah. And then think about how you can go forward and improve yourself.
Exactly. If you can have the best gear, you can have the most efficient workflow, you can have the best clients, whatever you think is good that makes you a good filmmaker. But if you as a person and your attitude towards it isn't healthy or constructive or helping people, then what's the point of doing it? You don't direct them to get exactly what you want.
It's like a kind of more of a process of doing it. Like they'll start off and then you'll say how they can improve that, and it's like basically polishing or refining. And I
think
acting.
And I think you can say how you want them to improve it, but I think most of it's just saying, can you try this instead? Yeah. Because especially as very young directors, and without that much experience, it's good to really see all the options before you make a decision. Yeah. Because you can imagine something while you're writing, but until you see someone perform it, you don't know if it's actually going to work. Yeah. So I always say to them when we're rehearsing, can you try it this way rather than do it this way? And then if it doesn't work, we go back to their way of doing it. Yeah. There were a few times where we had to there was a specific way we wanted it and we didn't want to change that, and we had to kind of mold the performances to that. Yeah. And in those cases we would give them an example of how the situation that they're in. Whenever there was a time where an actor was doing something we really couldn't afford to have on the film, we would just remind them of the emotions and the setting and the environment and the scene, and just try and set it again for them, just so they have a very clear understanding of what we want. Yeah. Or
the one that Nate gave Will, the advice that Nate gave Will of how to act, which was I can't remember the wording of it.
Nate did some really good advice. Yeah. To his fellow cast actually. Yeah. But there was a few times when some of them jumped in and really helped out each other, which was really cool to see.
The time we had, it was very extremely tight.
Because of the nature of the environment and the location we're shooting in, we didn't have a lot of time or flexibility. Yeah. So some of the shoot days were quite stressful, working out how we can get done in time and sort of rushing around and brushing a few things I would have wanted to spend longer on. And learning lessons, and there was one of the days actually where we thought we were or at least I thought we were over time and really late. So I was rushing, trying to push everything, get through on time, and then we ended up finishing up 20 minutes early.
Yeah, was this the third day?
This was the third day, yeah.
Yeah, but no, it would have been good because if you hadn't if we hadn't rushed that, then we probably would have been late.
Yeah, but it's just finding that balance between making sure you spend enough time, but then also delivering the vision you want and making it as good quality as you can. But then also, logistics is a huge role, and if you can't actually get the shot done, there's no point, having another shot that looks far better.
That shoot was probably the most, the shortest thing I've done, because with my web series, the tripods, there's so much to film. There isn't a clear, solid schedule to get it done. It's just you had to get it done whenever anybody's free and stuff. So that was.
And it has its pros and cons. It was good because we keep it consistent, because it was all done over. So we shot the film over the period of 3 days, with an extra evening. A few days after that. So that gave us consistency, and it was all done together in one go. But then it was a full-on few days.
I was gonna mention a quote from Taika Waititi, because what he does is he spends a lot of time in prep, like planning and stuff, and often, like with Jojo Rabbit and stuff, he came up with that in 2011.
Right.
And like the executives didn't want to make it because they didn't understand it and stuff, and like it's kind of good if you like leave it and then come back to it and go, oh, that can be better and stuff, and you like, because then if you have like a huge, not necessarily years, but like if you have that amount of time for planning, you can get it as good as you can and then like zoom through it.
So there was a scene, or a couple of lines where they're buying juice from a counter, and one of them goes, 2 pineapple juices please, and the other goes, wait, why not orange?
Yeah.
And while we were rehearsing, so this is between Nate and Cassidy, who played 2 of the main roles, and when Nate goes, actually, should we play the scene out?
Yeah, so Nate walks up and says, 2 pineapple juices please.
Wait, why not an orange?
Yeah, and Cassidy, when she said it, turned very posh as well.
An orange? She goes very British.
Why not an orange?
And it's amazing. I love all those guys. It's so great. We had such a great time.
And then after that, I was like, oh, that was quite funny, and I was about to laugh. And I look over at Charlie, who's standing up, and he's about to laugh. But then we keep looking at each other, and I think that made us laugh more.
Yeah, and they're still playing the scene through rehearsal.
And we're like,
so we're just like looking at each other, trying not to burst out laughing.
Yeah, you got a bit emotional about it as well.
I got all tearful, man.
2 pineapple juices, please.
What size? Wait, why not an orange?
I find it too bulky.
Wait, why not an orange?
And my amazing responses. I find it too bulky.
I've got to call you Charlie, hold on. And then I looked at Charlie and like, oh, he's crying.
It was just such a beautiful scene.
Oh my gosh, maybe you should take over my solo.
Yeah. Sorry guys.
Put you in a wig. What size would you like? Wait, why not an orange? No!
Okay. I'm just gonna...
Wait, why not orange? I got it. Orange! Yes!
Almost as tearful as Nate with the onion.
Oh,
so while we're shooting on day 3 in the kitchen, Nate had a scene where he had to have watery eyes because something had happened to him.
Yeah, something. When is this coming out?
Doesn't matter. No. Something happened to him, and he has very watery eyes and his red eyes. And so one of our amazing grip/boom mic operator,
who helped us immensely. We're just going to say it now. He helped us so much.
Massive
we
shout
probably
out
wouldn't
to
have Ollie Dale.
Shout out to Ollie Dale. He's amazing. He helped us out get Nate's eyes all red and watery by cutting an onion in half and didn't rub on his eyes. He held it in front of his nose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big breath in. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out.
This is like a breathing exercise.
Big breath in. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's not good.
And it turned into like a weird breathing exercise where it's like
breathe in,
1, 2,
hold
3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out.
And we did it for a long time. Yeah. And it looked pretty good in the results. Yeah. So and like while we were shooting the scene at the cafeteria counter, we actually got everyone to do a clapper each. Yeah. So we'd get them to change the shot number and clap, have a turn. And Maya Young, who plays the CAF worker, was really amazing because she did the clapper and then had to jump straight into character. And she was quite an emotional moment, so it was pretty impressive, that switch of character right there. So several scenes in the film are set at a party, and we shot all that in one evening a few days after the main bulk of the shoot. There's a part in one of the scenes at the party where there is a distraction that the trio are distracted by. At dancing on the dance floor. This guy's friend of mine as well, but
Not as close.
No, he's been well featured in the tripods.
Yeah.
But this was definitely his star role because he got to take his shirt off, got to dance a little bit.
Yeah.
To some really awesome music. Some inappropriate music.
Yeah. Well, the first one was fine. It was Careless Whisper.
Yes.
But second one.
So no, that was a really funny moment.
Yeah.
We got a lot of behind the scenes footage of that, and I think everyone because so me and Arlo, we have these matching shirts.
Yeah.
Which are like stars, galaxy thing, and so we both wore them for the party shoot, as like a joke because we call ourselves John and Jim.
No, John and Jim.
John and Jim.
No.
John and Jim directing duo, and so we wore them both to match, and we cameoed in that shot with his friend Caleb doing his dance in the background, and Caleb halfway through Caleb tries to like I think I ducked out early because I just couldn't stop laughing.
No, he like gestured towards you, and that's when you had to duck out.
The laughter had been building up, but as soon as he went or whatever he did, I just
it broke
lost
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he pulled you in and started dancing with you.
Yeah, so I came back out, and I remember when we looked back at the footage, Will was still doing his lines and stuff as he's going like that.
So while Caleb is doing his crazy dance, Will is delivering quite a serious line.
Yeah, and he's doing the big reveal of
the film basically.
Yeah.
So Caleb didn't cut his dancing; he kept going through the scene, and Will, being an amazing actor, just kept delivering his lines.
And then he was like, actually, and then Caleb's just like that in the background.
And then he pulls Arlo in and starts dancing with him and all that. Yeah. So that was just an amazing moment which showed both the creativity of our craziest cast members and the dedication of our leads as well. Yeah. We took some interesting family portrait photos as well. Well, yes, because we had because Caleb got Caleb to take off his shirt again and jump in the middle of us as we were all taking this photo, and so we all decided we'd look at him and say nipples. Yeah. As you do.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd have to say about the final shoot is that shot where I'm what's it called? Doubling as you, like I'm.
So as we're both wearing shirts, we played extras in it throughout the scene, and then we got to switch around because we were in the same shirts and looked very similar.
And so what happened was, because I had a mask there, and it was my house, the shoot, and
not a COVID mask, like a chainsaw you mask.
Yeah, like a horror film mask. And so what happened was I walked across, and then I was pretending to get drinks or whatever, and then I was just like in this group, and we were supposed to be talking or whatever, and then I started dancing, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a good song, but then as soon as I started doing that, everyone else joined in, and it was like a weird cult thing.
Yes.
And everyone was just like, oh yes, and dancing with me, and it was very strange, and I was trying not to laugh, and it was quite difficult.
They follow the director. This film, we wanted to keep it fun, light-hearted, with some drama and with seriousness in there, but overall a nice, heartwarming film.
Yeah.
And I think the production of it reflects that, because it was an incredibly fun time. Incredibly enjoyable time.
Stressful at points, but
when we look back on it, definitely enjoyable. And the people really made it for sure. Whether it was in the rehearsals or shooting it, or now we're going to do some voiceover work with the actors afterwards. That's going to be awesome as well. Yeah. The people really made it, and that's what counts at the end of the day. The directing duo sign off from Fire Juice.
John and Jim.
John and Jim. John and Jim.